so many videos about Resident Evil. Or if you know how much I love horror, you might think Romero zombies or maybe Fulci zombies that are super powerful and brought to life through the powers of the gates of hell. But it's not those. Actually, what I would like to see made into reality is from a very underrated cinematic masterpiece by Michele Soavi known as Della Morte dell'Amore, or Cemetery Man in the US. Now in Cemetery Man, the caretaker of the cemetery falls in love with a widow who gets killed by her ex-husband and turned into a zombie. This widow returns in many forms throughout the movie, always played by the very, very hot Anna Falchi. So that's the zombie cinematic universe that I would like to see brought to life. The one with the hot, big titty Italian zombies. Back to you, Wavy.
You know, I can't say I'm surprised with Wang's answer, but, you know, the big titty goth GF zombies would probably be a good outcome. So it is silly to look back at these conversations I had, you know, about this potential zombie apocalypse. We were almost hoping that it would occur, and I think there were plenty of people out there that thought the same way about this scenario. But I wanted to sort of recount this anecdotal experience and my past with zombie culture because it helps contextualize this story that we're talking about today, and this story is a doozy. Some of you may remember this. Back in 2012, there was something that really made people think that a potential zombie apocalypse was underway, and this was the 2012 Miami bath salt zombie attack. So let's go ahead and get into this story and dive right into it. This story starts on May 26th in Miami, Florida, with a man traveling from North Miami to South Beach for a hip-hop music festival. But everything goes haywire. The morning of May 26th, North Miami resident Rudy Eugene was traveling to South Beach on his way to the Urban Beach Week Hip Hop Music Festival, which is held on Miami's South Beach. However, while on the way, his car had broke down. He was caught on security camera lingering around his broke down Chevy Caprice for close to half an hour before he decided to step off on foot. He would abandon his vehicle and begin the 3-mile trek across the MacArthur Causeway, and this causeway is basically this giant bridge that goes over the Biscayne Bay and connects Miami to South Beach. But it wouldn't be long into Rudy Eugene's trek until things started to become amiss. Eyewitnesses report that not long after leaving his vehicle, Rudy Eugene began stripping off his clothing to a point where he was butt-ball naked. At approximately 1:55 p.m., security cameras captured the unthinkable that's about to occur here. As Rudy Eugene made his way up the causeway, security footage captured this moment where he momentarily stops and seems to be talking to a man who's just out of view of the camera. And this guy is a 65-year-old homeless man named Ronald Popo. And it's difficult to make out here, but you see a cyclist riding by Rudy Eugene, and he seemingly lunges at this guy and misses, and then after his miss, he turns around and begins attacking Ronald Popo. And this attack was brutal. Not only was this guy using his hands and feet to attack Ronald Popo, he literally gnawed off 80% of this guy's face from bite wounds. The aforementioned cyclist was watching all of this go down, Ronald Popo going through what must have been a living hell, getting his face bitten off. Police would arrive shortly. Police officer Jose Ramirez arrived, and after doing a double take at the spectacle, warned Eugene to desist from attacking Popo. Rudy Eugene ignored the officer's warnings and instead reportedly growled at the police officer, then resumed attacking his victim. The attack would finally be ended at 2:13 p.m. with Officer Ramirez shooting Eugene once at first and then another 4 times, totaling up to 5 shots after 20 minutes had gone by of what must have been a living hell for this Ronald Popo guy. Rudy Eugene was finally killed by his gunshot wounds. I must warn you, the image I'm about to show you is extremely graphic, and if you're not willing to see literally a pile of flesh, I would recommend you pausing the video or skip forward 10 seconds, because this right here is the face of Ronald Popo immediately after that attack. It's hard to believe that this man is alive. Ronald Popo survived the attack. It's really amazing to me that he was able to survive this. I would imagine the amount of blood loss that he endured was extreme. But here's what his face looks like a few weeks after the attack, after he, received some antibiotics and also some wound cleansing. And there was a fundraiser that was started which gained over $100,000 to pay for his facial reconstruction surgery, and this is what it looks like after that. Now at this point in the story, you gotta be wondering, why the hell did Rudy Eugene snap like this and attack Ronald Popo for seemingly no reason? And we'll start off by looking at a statement from Ronald Popo. Ronald Popo says that Rudy Eugene approached him looking, quote, souped up on something, and claimed that Ronald Popo had stolen his Bible, which obviously was not the case. This guy was delusional, and it was this altercation, verbal back and forth between the two that agitated Rudy Eugene into attacking Popo. Now, I'm not completely satisfied with this explanation, and I'm sure you aren't either, so we're going to look a little bit deeper into the reasoning behind the attack a bit later in the video, but I want to keep this narrative going and continue the whole media spread of this case because it was a worldwide story. Due to the insane nature of this altercation and the whole gnawing off a man's face aspect of it, it became a worldwide story with countless media outlets picking up on it, causing the case to go viral. And in the initial stages of the story spread, there was a good deal of misinformation that was put out there. And one of the biggest non-truths about this whole ordeal was that Rudy Eugene was under the influence of bath salts. In late 2011 and early 2012, synthetic drugs like bath salts were becoming relatively easy to find. It was possible to find these drugs at certain head shops across the United States. There was a massive gray area regarding the legality of these designer drugs. In the United States, the number of calls to poison control centers concerning bath salt poisoning rose from 304 on their list in 2010 to number 6 in 2011. So these synthetic bath salt drugs were becoming a massive problem in the United States at the time of 2011 and 2012. And many of those who were invested in this case began spreading the theory that Rudy Eugene was indeed under the influence of bath salts, as hallucinations, paranoia, and rage are some of the negative hallmark side effects involved with it. So media outlets were sort of assuming that this was the case. But a toxicology screen would reveal that bath salts were nowhere to be found in Rudy Eugene's system. The only drug that was in Rudy Eugene's system was marijuana, and it's really debatable if you even want to call that a drug. It's an interesting note though, because this story has become most popularly known as the bath salt zombie or the Miami bath salt attack. When I talk to somebody about this incident, the running story is, yeah, Rudy Eugene, he was on bath salts and ate a dude's face off, when that necessarily isn't the case at all. So bath salts aside, there was another popular explanation for the gnawing off of Ronald Popo's face, and for those invested in the zombie culture at the time, you best believe they were thinking this was ground zero for Zombie Apocalypse Day. They thought Rudy Eugene was like the patient zero for some sort of new zombie plague. And for those who have been prepping for a zombie apocalypse, the time was now to go forth with their zombie survival plans. Those who had accepted the zombie explanation for the reasoning this occurred, well, they felt the bath salts narrative was a conspiracy put out by the government to cover up the fact that zombies existed. You only need to read a small excerpt from Max Brooks' Zombie Survival Guide to sort of understand the rationale for those who believe this is the case, why they would think that way. Knowing what a zombie is will not help you if you are unable to recognize an outbreak before it's too late. This does not entail building a zombie command post in your basement, sticking pins in a map, and huddling around the shortwave radio. All it requires is looking for signs that would slip by the untrained eye. And I want to direct your attention to the third little blurb here that Max Brooks states that people who are vigilant of zombie outbreaks should really be looking for if they want to be prepared. Cases of violent insanity in which the subject attacked friends or family without use of weapons. Find out if the attacker bit or tried to bite his victims. If so, are any of the victims still in the hospital? Try to discover if any of these victims mysteriously died within days of their bite. Zombie enthusiasts were like, yeah, this is a case of a zombie right here. The dude clearly bit off the guy's face. Straight up zombie, there's no doubt about it. And to sort of add into the paranoia involved with the potentiality of a zombie existing, there was whisperings of a new virus that existed called LPQ-79, which was beginning to spread across the world. Google searches at the time for LPQ-79 resulted in no scientific evidence or history of such a virus that had been discovered. There was a YouTube video and a website that suddenly emerged that began publishing information about the virus and its connection to the Miami man's zombie-like symptoms. This video claims that a new virus remarkably similar to rabies was on the verge of becoming a plague, and it was spread through bite victims, would travel through the blood of the victim and infect the central and peripheral nervous system, causing the victim to want to bite other hosts, to sort of spread this virus. The video goes on to claim that research on this new virus was primarily embarked on by Dr. Rebecca Carey, and an excerpt is given of her claiming that NATO had been scientifically engineering viruses which could cause violent behavior in humans.
I have in front of me a book published by NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, called The Biology of Aggression, which is it's over 600 pages long. They're actually researching to see what areas of the brain they can affect to make people violent.
So if you were one to buy into conspiracy theories, at this time it was pretty much 100% confirmed that zombies were real, and that was the reason why this man attacked Ronald Popo. Well, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but this whole LPQ-79 thing was just a massive hoax. This Dr. Rebecca Carey lady is infamous for having her medical license revoked in 2004 after claiming she had magical powers which could cure cancer, autism, and other autoimmune disorders. And the LPQ-79 YouTube video and website was created by a web admin named Alfred Moya, and Alfred had created this YouTube video and website just to see how many people he could fool, and I would imagine he wasn't too surprised at the amount of people who bought this thing hook, line, and sinker. So yeah, 6 years later, a zombie apocalypse never occurred. Clearly, there was no LPQ-79, it was all a big setup. So if Rudy Eugene wasn't high on bath salts and he didn't have some sort of deadly zombie virus, why the hell did he attack Ronald Popo in such a savagely brutal way? Well, honestly, I think the best way to explain his violent attack is just to look at Rudy Eugene's criminal history. This is an excerpt from Murderpedia. Eugene was arrested 8 times from the age of 16, with the first arrest being for an assault in 1997. Another assault occurred on February 25, 2004, when Eugene broke a table, smashed items around the house, and pushed his mother out of the kitchen. After Eugene's mother Ruth told officers that he had said, "I'll put a gun to your head and kill you," this crime led to his serving probation for resisting an officer without violence. The remaining charges were mainly related to marijuana, which he had expressed a desire to quit. His last arrest was September 2009. Rudy Eugene was a perpetrator of serial violence, and in my opinion, he probably had some sort of undiagnosed mental disorder that led him to violent tendencies. And on one hot Miami day, walking across the causeway, a conversation with a homeless man caused him to be agitated, and well, he snapped, and his attack resulted in his own death and Ronald Popo unfortunately losing 80% of his face. Well, that's pretty much the story of the 2012 Miami bath salt zombie, who wasn't on bath salts and wasn't a zombie. It was just an insane guy who brutally attacked somebody. Do you guys remember when this happened? Were you one of the people who sort of bought into the potentiality of a zombie apocalypse? I know I halfway kind of was hoping that was the case, but now, being a grown-ass man, you know, I kind of like having an established society which you can, you know, go to the grocery store and buy food without having to, you know, run into a band of killers. But let me know what you guys think about
All right! Who rigged my range house poster? Piston seat and Uber keys!
You know, I've been looking forward to making this video for a long time now, and the day has finally come. It's time to talk about whatever happened to Tourette's Guy. See, if you were around my age, you were in high school when the Tourette's Guy clips were becoming pretty popular, and you knew a lot of friends who could quote these clips verbatim.
Dad, there's nothing to eat for breakfast.
Some cereal right here.
Oh, that's total. I don't really like that.
Don't talk shit about Total!
It's hard for me to really explain to you how big Tourette's Guy was for its time. I mean, it was essentially one of the first online versions of a character comedy. Take, for example, Boogie 2988's Francis, or The Angry Grandpa Show, even Filthy Frank, or perhaps McJuggernuggets. All of these are character comedies that took big inspiration from the Tourette's Guy series. I'd be willing to bet you've seen these clips floating around on the internet. I mean, it's still a pretty popular meme, even though it sort of predates the meme concept. Tourette's Guy is kind of unescapable or inescapable on the internet. You know, the guy wearing the blue Tony the Tiger shirt with the neck brace and who cusses all the time?
Fuck! Oh!
Yeah, that's the Tourette's Guy. Pretty much, it's a guy with a camera filming Danny's exploits around the house and also some exploits outside of the house as well. There are a few recurring characters like Danny's son. Also, the Tourette's Guy's dad makes appearance every now and then.
Damn, bitch! You got a stupid fat ass! Oh. Damn!
But the combination of the Tourette's Guy and his family members just creates for this hilarious amalgamation of a show. So back in 2002, located somewhere in a remote corner of the internet, exists this website called elbowworld.com. Now this website hosted the original 6 Tourette's Guy episodes. The website was owned by a man named Jared Six. His picture is located here on the site. He looks like he's a member of some kind of satanic cult, but aside from that, he is the supposed creator of this stated documentary about a man with Tourette's, and this guy with Tourette's being Danny, the Tourette's Guy. But this elbowworld.com did host links at some point to some Tourette's Guy clips, like this is the earliest mentioning or reference to the Tourette's Guy videos. And it's really unknown at this point who Jared Six is. Is Jared Six one of the characters in the Tourette's Guy show, like the Tourette's Guy's son, or is he just the guy holding the camera? We really don't know. But anyhow, this mysterious Jared Six character would continue to upload Tourette's Guy clips on the Elbow World site. And from 2002 to 2004, he kept putting new episodes of Tourette's Guy up, clip after clip, week after week. And it wouldn't take long before users of old internet websites like You're the Man Now Dog and E-Bombs World to sort of catch on to the hidden gem that was the Tourette's Guy series. And they began making memes and remixes of the Tourette's Guy videos, you making your own You're the Man Now Dog pages of Tourette's Guy, and sort of sharing the videos on E-Bombs World, which it became a really popular pre-meme. In addition, in 2004, a fan-made website called Tourette'sGuy.com was formed, and this would be the home of all new Tourette's Guy content. It's unknown if Jared Six had anything to do with the Tourette's Guy website, but it was reportedly fan-run, and this is where the new videos would be posted until the launch of YouTube in 2005, where most people would become familiar with Tourette's Guy by watching clips on YouTube, including myself. In August of 2006, Danny J86 uploaded the first Best of Tourette's Guy compilation to YouTube, and he had no affiliation with the Tourette's Guy project. This was just a random guy on YouTube who mashed a bunch of clips together into a handy compilation. And as of this day, this Best of Tourette's Guy video has almost 32 million views. And there are numerous compilation videos of Tourette's Guy clips available on YouTube, many of which have several million views apiece. The Tourette's Guy really is like an internet legend at this point. As the series began to draw on longer and longer, in the later years, 2006 and 2007, you had people sort of scratching their heads asking the question, does this Danny guy really have Tourette's? Like, is this an act? Is this some sort of, workup for the cameras? There's no way that this guy has Tourette's this bad. And there are a lot of clips in Tourette's Guy that sort of suggest that it's at least played up for the camera. I mean, you have obviously set up scenarios where the camera is hidden and placed in certain spots, and you see Danny's reaction is just like so perfectly placed to where the camera was set up.
They took all the fishing poles in the backyard. They left a bunch of beer cans and garbage.
Damn it! I'm getting sick and all goddamn tired of all these looters and polluters!
In addition, you have a lot of times where Danny has these obviously faked falls.
We're gonna be out of the butt. It is the fuck if we don't come up with that $36.
Ow! Fuck! Ow! Shit! Ow! Shit!
And you just have moments like this.
What? There's a bird in the house. What do you mean a bird? Bird? Holy shit! Oh, fuck! Ah! Ah! Shit! Shit! Fuck! Shit! Fuck you! Shit!
Dad, you're not allowed to go back in there.
I don't give a shit! 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 What the assholes are building? What is the bathroom?
Hey, you want the Twizzler?
No!
They're really good.
No! No! What? Fuck! Fuck you! Well, fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Whatever bullshit that looks like you! So, you wanna talk some shit, huh, Baldy? Son of a bitch! Fuck! Fuck! Oh, God! Fuck! I'm fucking being Avenue, you little son of a... God damn it, shit!
If anything, this is what I think. I believe that Danny may have been diagnosed with Tourette's at some point. It's extremely exaggerated for the camera, and these guys do set up scenarios for the camera to make the, you know, Tourette's guy clips funny. I have no hard evidence to prove, though, that Danny's Tourette's is really this bad, but that's just my opinion personally. But with that said, people were really intrigued with the Tourette's guy. They had a lot of questions they wanted to ask, and all of that interest became even more compounded when we got this news in 2007. In September of 2007, on the Tourette's Guy website, the main admin on the site, the Big Admin, had delivered this tragic news to Tourette's Guy fans. A couple of days ago, we received some terrible news about Danny. Late last week, Danny passed away. About a month ago, Danny was involved in a bad car accident. He had been out of the hospital for a couple of days staying with a friend when he suffered some medical complications. He unexpectedly passed away in the night. We here at Tourette'sGuy.com are deeply saddened by this news as we love Danny. The reality of Danny's death hasn't sunk in yet, even a few days later. It is our burden to share this news with you, the millions of fans who also love Danny. The post goes on to explain they'll be releasing some Tourette's Guy episodes on DVD and gives a good farewell, rest in peace, to Danny. So naturally, fans were extremely disappointed and saddened to hear the passing of the famed Tourette's Guy. Danny had died. The comment sections around YouTube were filled with saddened fans expressing their condolences to Danny's passing and celebrating the content that they had created in the Tourette's Guy project. And I remember reading this back in the day when I had just found Tourette's Guy. At the end of the cycle was when I first started in 2006. I remember hearing the Tourette's Guy had passed away. And at this time on the internet, it was really before you had people deep diving on Reddit. I mean, 4chan was a thing and they sort of did this detective work. So you couldn't really look into the legitimacy of the claim. You just had to sort of take it for what it was. The Tourette's Guy website said Danny passed away. There was no way for us to prove it. But for some people on the internet, at least the highly dedicated, this wasn't good enough for them. There were skeptics that did not want to accept that Danny was really dead. And well, the only way for them to prove that the Tourette's Guy wasn't dead, well, they would have to figure out where he lived and knock on his door and see for themselves. Well, they almost did that. See, there was a small group of dedicated fans that really thought that this death was a hoax, so they took it to themselves to use evidence within the Tourette's Guy videos to triangulate his exact location. This guy named Brian Mansion Use clues and landmarks featured in Tourette's Guy videos to triangulate his exact home address. And he has a website that still exists to this day where you can sort of see how he did it. For example, Danny the Tourette's Guy talking about Jolly Pirate Donuts.
You can go to Jolly Pirate Donuts, take a tour of shit for all I care.
Which is a donut chain exclusive to Columbus, Ohio. And then in this clip where the Tourette's Guy's bowling, you can clearly see here on the little thing that re-racks the bowling pins, it says Holiday Lanes, which is also located in Columbus, Ohio. So at this point, he had definitely figured out that Danny lived somewhere in Columbus, Ohio. And using the fact that Danny ordered a Biggie Fries from Wendy's, concluded that he definitely lived somewhere near a Wendy's.
I want 2 cheeseburgers. I want pickles and ketchup on them. And don't load it up a bunch of bullshit.
Okay, so you want 2 cheeseburgers with just pickles and ketchup? Will there be anything else?
I want a Biggie Fries and give me some shit to drink.
And another clip where he goes to the McDonald's.
Ronald McGoddamn Donald.
Well, Danny lives somewhere near a McDonald's, a Wendy's, a Holiday Lanes, and a Jolly Pirate Donuts. And after scanning miles and miles of cul-de-sacs and neighborhood streets, he finally found a match on Google Earth that synced up with the clip of Danny mowing his grass in the backyard. Using the landmarks of the fence and a back shed, he was able to make a 100% match. This was the address of Danny the Tourette's Guy. Even more impressive, after he located the Tourette's Guy's house, he was able to map out the indoor rooms of the house based off of just the clips that you can see in the Tourette's Guy videos. Now, Brian Manchin didn't live anywhere near Columbus, Ohio, so he couldn't go knock on the Tourette's Guy door himself. There were people online who claimed that they went to the Tourette's Guy's house and he was actually still alive. There also were reports suddenly coming up that people were seeing Danny shopping at Kroger quite frequently. And overall, the word on the street was that the Tourette's Guy really wasn't dead. It was a big hoax. And also, interesting enough, the house that Brian Manchin had located, well, if you match the address of that house up on Yellow Pages, it's registered to someone named Anthony Six. Remember Jared Six, the guy who supposedly created Tourette's Guy? Could Danny's actual name really be Anthony Six? Is he the father or relative of Jared Six? I think Brian Manchin really did locate the Tourette's Guy's house, which is really impressive. But despite this cyber sleuthing, there was never a 100% guarantee that anyone had actually gone to the house and seen the Tourette's Guy. But the fears that the Tourette's Guy was dead would be completely erased in 2009 when they uploaded a new video onto YouTube.
What the bull fucking hell? This is a franchise fee of $4.62 damn cents. I am pissed. If I don't get a full refund, I'm gonna take it to small claims court and take my business to Comcast. And once you see my dick, you won't want it.
2009 started essentially the season 2 of Tourette's Guy, the return. He finally came back, and with the same amount of charm and hilarity that the original first season had. I mean, it's like they didn't miss a beat here. This is super impressive to me because whenever you have a series that spans as long as Tourette's Guy did, I mean, it was pretty much at 6 or 7 years at this point. To come back after a several year hiatus and still have the same magic in a bottle, lightning in a bottle that you had before, it's super impressive. But ever since the return in 2009 that you had before, it's super impressive. But ever since the return in 2009, the Tourette's Guy never made another death hoax or a long leave of absence. I mean, they would make a new video for the Tourette's Guy series at least every year, and we've been getting uploads since the 2009 official return. In fact, the most recent Tourette's Guy episode was released earlier this year in 2018. But what blows my mind the most about the Tourette's Guy series, even despite how long it's lasted and how great of a show it is how everyone involved in the project remains basically anonymous and does not do any interviews or gives any insight into the creative process behind the show. Jared Six, the Tourette's Guy, Danny, any of the family members involved in the show, none of them have ever done an interview with anyone. So it's really cool that they maintain that, you know, mysterious nature to the show. We'll never know 100% sure if Danny the Tourette's guy is really faking it, if it's played up. Certainly you can have your opinion to think it may be, but it's never explicitly stated. Like McJuggernuggets recently came out and said his whole series was fake. As a fan, I would rather the people making the show to just sort of let it die and have us wonder. That's always been something that intrigues me, when someone can just end a project like that and there'd be no closure. It's disappointing but bittersweet at the same time. So for a series lasting over 15 years, for it still being this funny and the story that goes along with it, I mean, it's kind of wild. I mean, a death hoax? Jesus Christ. So what did you guys think about this Tourette's guy story? Leave your favorite Tourette's guy quote in the comment section. I would love to hear it. My personal favorite is, "Yes, I bought your Colgate toothpaste, the one with tartar control, and it made me feel like a piece of shit!" And before I get out of here, I gotta give a major shout out to my sponsor, Shirts.cool, for providing me with this wavy t-shirt. Check them out. You can get the wavy t-shirt yourself with So the last presidential election cycle, you know, the one that gave us Donald Trump, was one of the more vicious cycles in recent memory, and especially in my lifetime at least. Like, I saw the one that had Obama in it.
It's okay to torture people.
That one had a pretty good bit of savagery in it, but nothing like the social justice warrior alt-right battle that became the 2015 and 16 campaign season between these two.
You know, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Got him!
And by the time it got to the last few months of the election season, people on both ends were just so fucking worn out. They just wanted to see it come to a close. I introduced this stressful political cycle that was the 2016-17 elections for president because the guy we're talking about in this Whatever Happened To video, well, he was sort of spawned from this. In October of 2016, by this point, the two parties had already nominated their candidate, the Democrats with Hillary and the Republicans with Trump. It was the night of the second presidential debate. This was held in St. Louis, Missouri at Washington University. And this specific event was targeted for independent voters, voters who had yet to decide which end of the political spectrum they were going to be throwing their ballot towards. So because of the focus on independence, the moderator selected a group of individuals to ask questions to the candidates. And these people were independent voters. They wrote their own questions, and these questions weren't prefaced or proofread. They were able to make up any question they wanted to. So after a bout of mudslinging and shit tossing from both sides between Hillary and Trump, we get to the end of the debate where Anderson Cooper asked one of the picked guests to ask a question to the candidates. And this guest that was chosen to ask his question was the legendary man cherished to this day, known as Kenneth Bone, aka Ken Bone. Now, Ken Bone's question wasn't anything to knock your socks off. I mean, here's the clip of him asking the question.
We have one more question from Ken Bone about energy policy. Ken?
What steps will your energy policy take to meet our energy needs while at the same time remaining environmentally friendly and minimizing job loss for fossil power plant workers?
Mr. Trump, 2 minutes.
Absolutely. I think it's such a great question.
It's not the question itself that got people enamored about Ken Bone. It was his overall appearance. I mean, this red sweater, the pedo mustache, the chubbiness, he's just a cute guy. And then you have the obviously hilarious suggestiveness to his name. I mean, Ken Bone. This guy is asking just to be placed in a porno. So overnight, this dude pretty much became an instant celebrity. People were so tired of the viciousness involved with politics, Ken Bone just came in and gave everybody, you know, a reason to laugh again. Like, this guy was the most adored man in the country for the next week. In addition to the clip of Ken Bone asking his question to the two candidates, you had some other clips that just made him even more legendary, like him using this disposable camera from 2003 to take a photo of the event, and then this other clip where he shakes hands with Bill Clinton, which that just solidifies that you're a badass at this point. Come on. So after taking a pic and buddying up with Bill Clinton, he steps out of the event to check his phone. It's rendered completely unusable because of the amount of Twitter followers he was getting, not even minutes of stepping out of the event.
I went from last night having 7 Twitter followers, 2 of which were my grandmother because she had to remake her account when she forgot her password, to now I have several hundred. I don't know why they care what I have to say, but I'm glad they're engaged in the political process.
He's even more awesome than ever, just watching that clip. That number is more than 30,000 now, and the Ken Bone memes are everywhere.
As the event was airing live, you had people taking photos of their television screens, putting it on DVRs, and sharing pictures to Twitter of the Ken Boner himself. People thinking he was basically like the greatest thing to happen to American politics. Screw Trump and Hillary. We need Ken Bone for president. So after a 24-hour period, this guy gained like 30,000 Twitter followers. The day following the debate, he was featured on Jimmy Kimmel, which Jimmy sort of chopped it up with him, asked him a couple of questions.
Did you know your fans are now calling themselves boneheads?
That's fantastic. I've been calling my family that for years.
Okay, good.
And Ken Bone reveals that he didn't plan on wearing the red sweater the whole time. It was only because the olive suit he had worn, well, he bent over and had a SpongeBob rip my pants moment and busted the seam in the ass crack of the pants, so he had to throw on the red sweater, just something that he had laying around in his car.
Boy, explain what happened with the red sweater. You originally weren't supposed to wear that, right?
No, it was going to be an olive-colored suit that I liked very much. My grandfather helped me pick it out a few years ago. And I thought, wow, Grandpa would be so proud if I wore this suit. But apparently I have gotten somewhat more fat since then. And when I got into my car, I split the seat out of my pants and destroyed my olive suit. And I had to do an emergency wardrobe change.
If the Smithsonian asks, will you give that sweater to them?
I mean, give is a strong word, Jimmy, but I guess we can make a deal.
We were this close to not having the red sweater on Ken Bone, and I don't know if he would have had the same impact without it. Along with being featured on Jimmy Kimmel, he was featured on numerous online blogs and even some mainstream press, and he also got talked about on The Daily Show Not with Jon Stewart, with the other guy, which I don't particularly care for, but here's the clip.
Welcome to the Bone Zone. That is the first time Bone Zone has not sounded creepy at all. Now you call it, come on kids, time to play in the Bone Zone. Yay! I love Ken Bone. I love this guy so much.
So the name Ken Bone is perfect for a porn star, right? Well, it wasn't long after his appearance in the debate that he was offered a porn contract by a website called camsoda.com. You know, they offered him this $100,000 contract to appear on his website, and it's not explicitly stated what he'd be doing on there, but I guess he'd be busting some cheeks or something. But it seemed like the nation and the whole world had just become enamored with this charming, chubby little dude with the pedo stash. Well, that wouldn't last for long. It's the internet, and it doesn't take too long for someone to try to expose and destroy you. That's just the way it goes on here, man. And disaster struck whenever Ken Bone did an AMA on Reddit without using a throwaway account. He used this long-standing account known as Stan Gibson 18, where he answered a bunch of questions. Did an AMA on Reddit without using a throwaway account. He used this long-standing account known as Stan Gibson 18. where he answered a bunch of questions, but it wouldn't take long for social justice warriors and just complete assholes to go in his Reddit history and find some things that could be taken out of context to make him look like a scumbag. Ken Bone had some history on his Reddit of him commenting on posts about Trayvon Martin and putting in his 2 cents, saying that it's an unfortunate scenario, but at the end of the day, Trayvon Martin was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And another comment where he said he did enjoy the leaked photos of Jennifer Lawrence during the 2013 fappening. I mean, I'm pretty sure we all did. But social justice warrior blogs around the internet like Gizmodo, they started making these hit pieces where they would take quotes from his Reddit history, they would take it out of context and flip it into these hit pieces. So within a day, it's like everyone on the internet loves you, and now everyone on the internet thinks you're a piece of shit and wants to cut your damn dick off. And people were really taking these hit pieces to heart. I mean, Ken Bone had offered his sweater up for auction and he was gonna donate all of the proceeds to a local homeless shelter. I mean, he had a bidder that was willing to donate $10,000 for this sweater. But after the fact that these hit piece articles came out, the bidder withdrew their bid and didn't give him the $10,000 for the sweater. So basically homeless people got fucked over because of Gizmodo. You guys can go suck a fatty. But fortunately for Ken Bone, he would be saved with the intervention of H3H3's very own Ethan Klein. You see, Ethan Klein was really into saving these victims of social justice warrior attacks at the time. Take, for example, Humongous. H3H3 made a video defending Ken Bone. Where he sort of exposed these articles for taking his Reddit history out of context and creating hit pieces about him.
People are doing hit jobs on this sweet guy, dude. As Ken Bone enjoys his 15 minutes, social justice warriors sift through his Reddit history in an attempt to ruin his life. If you think that's an exaggeration, I assure you it's not. Listen to this excerpt here that literally had my bone blood boiling. The article said this: Ken Bone said in reply to a woman who had been raped by her partner, rather than supporting her, had called her disgusting. Okay, this is what this article wrote about this sweet fucking guy here. Let me read you what he actually said to this rape victim. He says, and I quote you, "Nothing that happens to you can make you disgusting. You are no less valuable for having suffered at the hands of a monster. Actions make a person disgusting. Your attacker is disgusting, as in the thought of such an awful person disgusts me. Our words can make us disgusting. Your ex is disgusting. Blaming a victim or assigning a woman value based on how used she is will and never be anything but disgusting. Your value has not changed due to his words or any assault you have endured. You are still valuable. End fucking quote.
And at the time, the influence that H3H3 had was massive. Anything that he said online was taken as fact. So within one video, Ken Bone's reputation was pretty much saved. And about a week later, on October 27th, Ethan invited Ken Bone to join the H3H3 show, where he did an interview with him, and it was all candid and fun, and just here's some clips from it.
Okay, can you just test your sound for me really fast? Just gonna test all the equipment here.
I'm screwing with you. Test, test, test.
I think that's the perfect way to start this. Is that your real last name?
That is my real last name. My grandfather's name was also Ken Bone. His father's name was Bentley. His older brother's name was Oral. They had it a little worse than I did.
Oral Bone, no!
I swear to you.
This is the bone. The bone stash stops at the fat roll, right?
Yeah, like right at the chub crease right here, I think.
Chub crease.
But yeah, I mean, Ethan pretty much saved him from whatever bit of negativity was getting at Ken Bone. I mean, after this, the sweater bidder put the $10K back, and he was able to auction off the original red Ken Bone sweater for $10,000, which he did give to the local homeless shelter. And after H3H3 sort of swooped in and saved Ken Bone, he kind of just fell back into irrelevancy, as a lot of these internet overnight stars do. I mean, he did have a few moments of relevancy in the future, which I will cover briefly here. About a year after the debate appearance, he was invited to join Bill Maher for an interview. Bill Maher being a classical liberal commentator on television. I kind of like the guy, he has some pretty good opinions, but he is notable for really disliking Donald Trump. Bill Maher considered Ken Bone to be a gettable voter, like what a voter who uses logic and considers all angles to be. Here's some clips from that interview, which you can check out. I would suggest watching this interview in its entirety.
You became sort of emblematic as the independent voter. You were at that famous debate, and it was all independents who hadn't made up their mind. And to me, you're a gettable voter. Are you going to reveal who you did vote for?
No, I'm waiting for my book deal to come through.
Is that true?
No, not at all.
And the last thing Ken Bone was really relevant for or involved in is actually pretty interesting. So earlier this year, back in April, Ken Bone had posted this photo replying to one of the Parkland shooter survivors on Twitter. The person who posted the original tweet was Kyle Kushov, who was one of the survivors from the Parkland shooting, which was a school shooting that happened in Parkland, Florida, which resulted in the deaths of 17 students. Kyle Kushov was having a back and forth with someone on Twitter about gun safety and gun laws. Which resulted in the Parkland shooting. The person who replying to one of the Parkland shooters one of the survivors from the Parkland shooting, which was a school shooting that happened in Parkland, Florida, which resulted in the deaths of 17 students. Kyle Kushov was having a back and forth with someone on Twitter about gun safety and gun laws. Kyle Kushov being a strong advocate for the Second Amendment and one who believes that, you know, the government shouldn't regulate guns, like we should have guns in schools and stuff like that to protect the students. Ken Bone responded to Kyle Kushov's tweet with a tweet of his own that had a photo of him with his son at a gun range, teaching his son how to shoot. He added this caption to the photo: "Here's a pic of my son learning to shoot safely under my supervision. Maybe those security guys wanted to talk to him." So yeah, Ken Bone popped in to just give his 2 cents on the gun situation. It seems like Ken Bone is someone who advocates for safe firearm use. He doesn't want the guns to be gone, but with safety, you know, it's okay to have them around. Well, a few days later, Ken Bone reposted the photo with this caption: Remember this photo from a few days ago? Well, a school administrator saw it, and now my son is suspended from school pending a police investigation. So because of the photo that Ken Bone had posted, he basically got his kid suspended from school. Here's a local news report of this situation, and I'll play the whole thing in its entirety because it gives you a better idea of what this was all about.
I shared a photo on social media of me and him at the gun range. I was teaching him how to shoot.
Him, as in his 14-year-old son, now suspended from the St. Clair, Illinois Regional Office Safe School.
One of the school administrators saw that, and I got a call saying that my son couldn't come back to school until the police investigated.
Bone says he shared the 2-year-old picture out of sheer innocence, showing his support for Kyle Kashuv, a Marjorie Stoneman Douglas student who does not support gun control. He recently tweeted a photo of him at a shooting range and said school security officials questioned him about the picture.
Kyle Kashuv, one of the survivors from the Parkland massacre, was having trouble with security at his school. He had tweeted some pictures of himself with his father at the gun range, and I wanted to show my support for him. So I tweeted basically the same photo with me and my son.
School officials in Illinois didn't take that lightly.
She said that the caption where I had said the security officers should talk to my son, she said that was threatening.
Bone's son has been in trouble before.
He took a pocket knife with him to school, and he said he didn't mean to. It was zipped up in his binder, but still, there were consequences from that. He got expelled from his old school, which is why he goes to the St. Clair ROE Safe School now.
The suspension was lifted Friday, and Bone's son will be allowed to return to school on Monday. Bone hopes his son has learned a lesson.
Definitely be responsible with what you put on social media. It stays around forever. There's no such thing as deleting anything, and be really careful with your words.
So it's hard to really say if Ken Bone is withholding information here about his son. Like, his son may have had questionable behavioral problems at school, and maybe this was like the straw that broke the camel's back, and perhaps that's why he was suspended. But since this has happened, he is back in school, so it is what it is. But outside of all that stuff, Ken Bone is pretty much just back into irrelevancy. He pops in with a tweet here and there. He's got his own podcast. If you really want to kind of get to know Ken a little more, you can look up The Bone Zone on YouTube. That's his podcast. It's pretty much dead, but hey, check it out if you like the guy. So that's pretty much the full Ken Bone story, and I hope I let you know what happened to him after the fame and all that good stuff. But if you enjoyed this video, slap a like and subscribe. I would appreciate it. Let me know in the comments who you guys think I should feature next in a Whatever Happened To episode. And this has been a Wavy Web Surf Whatever Happened To video. I'll see y'all in the next one. Hey, I gotta admit, the red sweater is not the hottest look in the world, but you can step your game up this fall and really enter the Bone Zone when it comes to these females if you check out shirts.com. So the early 2010s was a pretty exciting time for hip-hop. It's where you saw the end of the bling era of rappers and where you saw the new school guys like Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, Mac Miller, you know, people we kind of take as household names now. And a lot of these new artists like the Kendricks and Coles used YouTube as a platform to make their art form available. It had become easier than ever to get your music noticed by people simply because you could upload it to the internet. And this option opened the lane up for not only hardcore rappers like Kendrick and such, but also opened the lane for like these satirical comedy rappers. I'm talking rappers like Lil B, Ice JJ Fish, and that leads me into who I want to highlight on in today's video. Satirical comedy rapper Krispy Kreme, aka Froggy Fresh.
I had to fight my whole life. I could beat you up even if you had 1,000 knives. Even if you had infinity knives, I would punch you up into the air like a kite.
I remember Krispy Kreme being like this huge sensation back in 2012, 2013. Almost all of my friends knew about him and he was just this goofy kid making these hilarious rap music videos. And then as years passed, I slowly lost touch with his content and he just kind of vanished. So in today's video, I want to ask the question, whatever happened to Krispy Kreme / Froggy Fresh / Tyler Cassidy? They're all the same person, but let's get into this one. So first and foremost, I want to say Krispy Kreme is Froggy Fresh. Froggy Fresh is Krispy Kreme. They're the same people. I'll explain why that's such a thing later in the video. But for simplicity's sake, I'm going to be referring to this guy right here, the target of the video, as Froggy Fresh. He's Froggy Fresh. Let's get into it. So Froggy Fresh, whose actual real name is Tyler Cassidy, had actually been making rap songs years before he started the Froggy Fresh project in 2012, admittedly making hardcore southern rap tracks that just weren't going anywhere. And then in 2012, Tyler had the idea for the Froggy Fresh character, you know, this 5'1", super goofy, living in his mom's basement, heavy southern drawl rap character, and he launched that project in 2012 with his initial music video on YouTube called The Baddest.
Cause I am the baddest of them all. If you ain't about money, then I don't mess with y'all. Y'all think I don't get girls, cause I ain't very tall. If she see my stacks, I bet you that she calls. You know that I am.
The Baddest features Froggy Fresh in his mom's basement with his best friend Moneymaker Mike as they're toting around guns, as Froggy spits these super boastful bars about how Beyonce thinks that he's cute and he thinks Jay-Z is lazy.
I bet I got more money than Jay-Z. Compared to me, Jay-Z is lazy. Plus Beyonce thinks that I'm cute. It's okay, Beyonce, I think you're cute too.
Now this video didn't get any traction until about a week passed, where a user named Pants20 posted it on our videos on Reddit, of course. The post title was "This kid is a lyrical genius" and would get thousands of upvotes, basically creating the viral sensation of the Froggy Fresh / Krispy Kreme The Baddest video. Posted in April, by the time November came around, this video had over 6 million views, which is pretty impressive by 2012 standards. And within this April to November time frame, Froggy Fresh's video had been featured on Ray William Johnson's Equals 3 show, which Ray's show was like at its peak at this time, so this just gave Froggy Fresh even more visibility and brought even more people onto The Baddest music video.
And if I may, quote from Sir Krispy Kreme himself, "I dare you to try and punch me. My face is so hard, you'll say ouch. You crunched me."
Ouch, you crunched me.
So with Froggy Fresh's character and music just being so out there, a lot of fans were wondering, is this guy actually for real? Like, is he really this bad at rapping, or does he really look this strange? Like, surely he couldn't be this clueless. That was part of Froggy Fresh's plan, and the whole shtick was to give it enough believability that this could be a real person, but the whole time he's doing it, it's just an act. So with Froggy Fresh's momentum being at an all-time high, being featured on all these blogs, being featured on Equals 3, and just getting so many views from his video, he got an opportunity that nobody saw coming. Froggy Fresh was invited to go on Tosh.0's Web Redemption segment. Now, Tosh was killing it at the time on Comedy Central with Tosh.0. This show heavily featured videos pulled from YouTube and internet sources, and Tosh basically gave commentary over them. But he also had a segment called Web Redemption, where he would invite somebody that was featured in a video on Tosh, and he would allow them to sort of do an interview with him and get to know them and try to understand what was going on in the video segment that Tosh reviewed in a previous episode. So Froggy Fresh agreed to join Tosh on the segment, and they did an interview together, and we got this out of it.
Well, it's an honor to have you here, Crispy. I'm a huge fan.
Thank you very much, Daniel.
How long have you been in the rap game?
I've been in the rap game for since I was just born.
Immediately took to it.
Since I was born, I came in and I was just rapping mostly.
Tell me about growing up as a little donut hole.
Mostly play with action figures or video games.
How'd you get so good at rapping?
I just listen to Tupac and Nas most of the time.
Okay, so if I were to give you Biggie or Tupac, Krispy Kreme is going Tupac. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Talk about when your mother passed away.
My mother didn't pass away.
Okay, good. That question would have been very uncomfortable.
Froggy Fresh also did a song with Tosh, and they debuted it on the show, so it was just this massive debut, this massive spike of visibility for Froggy Fresh, and an opportunity to get fans that he never would have had otherwise.
It's me and Dale Tosh, and we're chilling in LA, doing push-ups and getting girls all day, and we're never ever going back home, cause now we're best friends and we'll never be alone.
After his appearance on television, his popularity skyrocketed, and he had more fans than ever flocking to see his videos on YouTube. As 2012 ended and 2013 began, fresh off the heels of his Tosh performance, he just began putting out song after song, banger after banger. His fan favorites like Denzel Washington and Best Friends came out at this time. Best Friends being this song where Froggy Fresh sort of elaborates on his friendship with Moneymaker Mike, who is like the skinny guy who always appears in the videos alongside him, wearing the Mac Miller shirt. This song introduces the character James as well, which ends up being the series-long antagonist in the Froggy Fresh universe. Froggy Fresh was creating this whole lore within his Froggy Fresh project. Plot lines would go on from song to song. There would be recurring characters and such. Moneymaker Mike was a fan favorite. You would expect him to appear in at least every video, and many fans of Froggy Fresh would often leave comments like Moneymaker Mike is the shit, and they love him just as much as Froggy Fresh. So it's interesting how he built this universe, almost the same way Filthy Frank built his universe around an interesting cast of characters and such. So 2012 and 2013 overall were just massive successful years for Froggy Fresh, putting out 2 albums in 2013, and most importantly, getting a John Cena shout out.
What do you think of Froggy Fresh?
Putting a new glaze on Krispy Kreme. I think he's very talented. I saw his a few of his videos. I was surprised by his content. I think he's very talented. I think he's a lot more talented than people give him credit for.
It seems like nothing could go wrong at this point, but Froggy Fresh would get some news in 2013 that could potentially leave his whole empire crumbling before his eyes. Now, I've been referring to Tyler Cassidy's character in these rap music videos as Froggy Fresh, but up until this point in the actual timeline of events, he had been going by the rap name Krispy Kreme this entire time. So obviously Krispy Kreme is a donut company. So once Krispy Kreme, the donut company, finds out that this 5'1" guy toting around guns in a music video and doing all these ridiculous public appearances, would Krispy Kreme, the company, be okay with a guy like this representing their brand who is basically directly using the same spelling of their company name? No, they weren't happy about it. So Krispy Kreme, the company, contacted Tyler Cassidy and was like, look, dog, you gotta change your name or we're gonna sue. So Froggy Fresh posts this video on his channel in 2013 and sort of explains the scenario. Now he stays in character the whole time and he says Krispy Kreme, the company, called his dad and told him that he had to change his rap name. Here's a segment from that video.
So then I have to change. I have to change my rap name. Because Krispy Kreme, the donut factory, called my dad's house, and they said that I have to change my rap name because you can't just copy names like that. So my dad said that I do have to change my rap name, or else that I could get in a lot of trouble.
So being forced to change your name at this point in your career is like, it seems like it would be a death blow to many because you've gotten so much notoriety off your brand. It's going to be tough to keep the fans around if you have to change your entire branding to a new name. So Froggy Fresh came up with a few name ideas. The first one, of course, being Froggy Fresh. We've got Jelly Bean Jack. We've got Candy Cane. We've got Lil Country. We got White Chocolate. Now, as the story goes, he ultimately decided on Froggy Fresh and kept going with the project with that new name, hoping this wouldn't affect his viewership or his success in the future. It was something that had to be done though, because legal action from Krispy Kreme could have ended the whole project right then and there. Now, unfortunately, part of the deal between Krispy Kreme, the company, and Froggy Fresh was that he had to delete the Krispy Kreme channel and start up an entirely new channel, which he could post his music on it only if he edited the parts and namesakes that have the Krispy Kreme company. That's why the Krispy Kreme rapper YouTube channel is no longer available. The Froggy Fresh channel exists and has many of the Krispy Kreme era songs in it, but whenever there's a part where he says Krispy Kreme in it, it's censored out, or there's something over the video that scribbles out Krispy Kreme text.
Krispy Kreme 2012. Froggy Fresh 2012.
So after the name change in early 2013, Froggy Fresh would just keep going full steam ahead, putting out fan favorites like Christmas and what I consider his artistic pinnacle, Dunked On.
I grabbed the ball and I passed it into Mike. Mike caught the pass, fake left and went right. He drove through the lane and he threw it off the glass. I couldn't believe my eyes, he was running so fast. Caught the pass in mid-air, then he threw that boy down. Nobody could believe it, James fell over on the ground. He started crying, put his hands on his head. Then Big Blue looked at me and Mike and he said, why is James crying? Cause he just got dunked on. I ain't even lying, yo, he just got dunked on. Yeah, he was standing in the way, so I jumped up in the air and I ducked it on his face.
Froggy Fresh would go on to post 12 more music videos onto YouTube from 2013 to 2016, and in this time span he put out 2 full-length albums and even did a tour in 2016. It was like you couldn't stop the guy. But then after April of 2016, he just kind of vanished and stopped posting videos, leaving fans wondering, what the hell happened to Froggy Fresh? Where did you go? His videos were still getting hits, but after April of 2016, there wasn't any content to speak of all the way up until 2018. It was a 2-year period of absence. Then finally, subscribers were notified of a new Froggy Fresh video. But this one wasn't a music video or any kind of in-character update. This was a video of Tyler Cassidy, basically explaining that he was done with the Froggy Fresh project and was moving on to pursuing an actual serious music career, making folk and country music.
Yo, update video. Here's what's going on in my life, kids. Okay. I have been writing pop tunes and soul tunes for about 1.5 years now. 3.5 years ago, I finished the 3rd album for the Froggy Fresh project, which is unreleased. We have those 5 singles released that are out there, which is like Stolen Bikes 3, Zombie in My Basement. What else was there? Good Guy Shoes. It's those 5 singles that don't have an album yet. Well, the album has been done for forever, but I just hadn't released it yet because I was waiting, because we normally do a video for every song, but we never got to the videos. My little brother went to college. He ran the camera. And everyone kind of grew up and grew out of it. And I kind of just stayed around the area for a couple years and did absolutely nothing and didn't know what to do with my life. So anyways, I've also just lost so much interest in the project. It's just not that much fun for me anymore, and I've kind of outgrown it. Mostly because like the people that were involved in the project, we've all gone separate paths, so it just ain't there anymore. We're getting my brother-in-law, and we're getting everything, all of the props and everything from the first 2 albums, and all of my gear, which was like cameras and microphones and everything, up on getting it ready to post on eBay to get rid of everything from the project, like everything from the good guy shoes to the Freddy Krueger costume to the camouflage crap from Best Friends to the guns from the Baddest, like everything you could ever imagine from the project. We're preparing to post on eBay. At this point, I probably have almost enough for 2 albums, and I'm writing every other day, so this is like my new thing. This is what I'm pretty much in love with. I just want to write songs, and it's like, but not hip-hop anymore. I'm so bored with hip-hop, it's just not fun to me anymore. I guess that's pretty much it. So I'm closing down shop for good on the Froggy Fresh project because everything that I had planned for the videos we're just not going to get to them. Anyways, peace out.
It's kind of sad to see this, but it really reminds me of like Filthy Frank moving on to Joji and completely abandoning his project. Sometimes you just grow out of something. It's really hard to tell that to fans. You just have to appreciate the good times you gave them and watch you grow. It just seems so bizarre to me though to watch someone sort of announce the end of a brand or a music project that so many people beloved and just announcing the end of it so candidly. Now it seems like Tyler Cassidy must be doing pretty well financially. I'm sure he saved money from the Froggy Fresh project, but all I can say is I wish him the best of luck, and I was curious where the hell he went, and I'm glad I did the research and found out. I hope if you were a Froggy Fresh fan that this video could give you a little bit of closure, because it looks like he's never coming back to the project. So who would you like to see me do a whatever happened to video on next? It's pretty interesting to see where a lot of our old internet idols end up going in the long run. But anyways guys, this has been a Wavy Web Surf video. I'll see you guys in the next one. And you know, I gotta make sure you guys check out my partner in crime Cool Shirts. They just sent me this dope aquamarine looking hat. You need to go on their website and check out their designs. You know, maybe purchase something because your boy gets a kickback from it. So click the link in the description box.
Welcome to our... They were put... Hey everybody, it's your friend and your
Oh, he wakes up, she's in. I've been working a long time now. I've been working for free.
your guy and your favorite preacher, Gardner, the Linux Gamer. This video is brought to you by my 126 amazing patrons over on Patreon, without whom I would not be able to do this show. I want to give a special shout out to Nima. Nima, my dude, your support is truly appreciated. If you find yourself enjoying this video, if you find it informative, thought-provoking, interesting, hit that like button. It really helps the show out. You can also hit that subscribe button, and it'll keep you up to date in all likelihood with the videos that I release here on the channel. I do one every Monday and every Friday. You can also head over to LBRY, lbry.tv/@thelinuxgamer. It's pretty awesome. So, Electronic Arts is banning people playing Battlefield 5 who are playing on Linux. And this isn't just a trivial like 24-hour ban or anything like that. They are being banned for cheating because they're playing on Linux. Now, Linux does give you a competitive edge, mostly because Linux is just way cooler than Windows, and that just gives you swag points on the battlefield. But no, honestly, the reports are coming in that that Battlefield 5 players are being just categorically banned if they're playing on Linux through Wine. Now, there are some people who have said that this is because of the anti-cheat software, and I kind of wanted to go into this and do kind of a deep dive because I haven't seen someone like actually explain why anti-cheat software would flag someone as cheating if they're not cheating and just playing on Wine. Let's talk about it. Let's start by talking about operating systems. I mean, computers are complicated. They're a mess of hardware, firmware, drivers, and software, and somehow it all just kind of magically works together. Whether you're running Windows or Linux, I mean, it really doesn't matter that much. Your CPU speaks the same language regardless of what operating system it's running. I mean, in many ways, the CPU in your desktop or your laptop, if you're running Linux, can understand the exe files. But here's the deal. Every PC is different. I mean, every combination of hardware, every CPU, GPU, and sound card combination, all of that would mean that developers would have to target each of those specifically. And developers don't want to do that. That's where operating systems come in. See, if it's Linux, if it's macOS, if it's Windows, they all kind of work in the same way. They create a software layer that lets software developers target that layer rather than targeting the like insurmountable number of variations of hardware configurations. And it's understandable why we want that in our software development. We want to be able to just target one software stack and have it work regardless of what the hardware underneath is. Instead of having to write a graphics pipeline in machine code for literally every vendor's GPU out there, a developer can just target Vulkan and write it once and have it work no problem. Or if they're dumbasses, they can use DirectX. So here's the thing. Operating systems actually provide this low-level library support, stuff like Vulkan or DirectX or any number of things, and these assist developers so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel with every application they write and for every piece of hardware they want to support. But this is where things being written for Windows comes into play. While in all likelihood your CPU can understand what the app is trying to do, the libraries that the app depends on just aren't on your system if it's a Windows app and you're running Linux. Now, this is a gross oversimplification, so before you keyboard warriors out there try to go down in the comments and tell me I'm wrong, which please do that, it really helps the video. I understand that this is an oversimplification, but I think it paints the picture pretty well. So this is where Wine comes in. Wine is super awesome. Linux is awesome because we have Wine. Now, what Wine does is it actually provides open source implementations of the Windows-only libraries that applications written for Windows depend on. So when a Windows application opens up in Wine and Wine sees that the app wants DirectX 9.dll, for example, Wine goes, oh, you want DX9.dll? Here you go. And it's not the actual DX9.dll. It's an open source version of it. Okay, so I hope you're still with me. I hope that I'm actually adequately explaining this at kind of a high level so that even like new people to these ideas can understand this. So you might have heard someone say Wine is not an emulator, and that's actually 100% accurate. Emulators simulate the hardware of the system that they're trying to emulate. For example, the Super Nintendo. So what an emulator does when you load up a Super Nintendo ROM, for example, is it turns the incompatible machine code of the Super Nintendo's CPU and it converts that into code that's accessible and usable by your machine. With Wine, you're not actually doing that. Your CPU already speaks CPU, right? So you don't have to take and convert x86 system calls into x86 system calls. Your CPU already does that. What Wine does is it supplies open source Linux compatible libraries to the application that you're trying to run. But that's where we run into our first problem. Windows libraries are proprietary, so Microsoft owns the copyright on these things. The Wine project can't just copy and paste the code into their own project and then release it. That would not work, first of all, but it also would be illegal. The Wine project had to start from scratch, and they started out by building their own compatibility layer, doing a lot of tests, and eventually ending up where we're at now. They have their own alternative libraries that work with Linux, and they can supply to the application what they expect to receive from these external libraries. But it's not perfect, and that's why you end up with glitches. You might be asking yourself, what do these libraries actually even do? Let's say that you have some complicated math that you need to do repeatedly throughout your program, right? You can simplify that by creating a program within a program, what we call a function. Now, this function accepts an input, does its little thing to the input, and then returns whatever the modified value is. And you can think of a library as a collection of functions. So they're small little programs that allow you to not have to reinvent the wheel every time. All those DLL files that you find alongside the applications that you want to run, those are all libraries. A lot of them are provided by the operating system, but sometimes they can be brought in by third parties. And like I said, all the DLLs that come from Microsoft that are included in Windows, the code is closed source. It's all secret. Nobody outside of Microsoft knows exactly how these libraries actually function. So let's say that you want to draw just a triangle to the screen, right? You can use a function in one of these libraries like draw triangle, for example, and doing that will result in a triangle magically appearing on your screen. So now let's say you're trying to run that same app that draws a triangle to the screen in Wine. Wine sees that you're trying to use draw triangle, and so it takes the input from the app and draws the triangle on the screen as well. But maybe it didn't draw it exactly the way the Windows library would. Maybe it's slightly larger. Maybe it's scaled or skewed a little bit differently. So let's say you're playing an online multiplayer game, and every time you want to move your character around the world, the movement algorithm in the game uses some proprietary code from a library that comes from Windows in order to do some like physics calculations, let's say. Let's say that every time you want to move your character forward, the Windows library returns the value 1.2 units every frame. So you move your character 1.2 units every time a frame ticks forward in the gameplay. Now, let's say that you're trying to play the game in Wine, and the Wine version returns the value 1.200001218. All right, let's say that that is the result of the Wine library. Now let's say that the game runs anti-cheat software. It sees that your movement speed is not exactly what it expects it to be, and so it bans you outright. Now, I'm not an expert on this, and I understand that this is an oversimplification, but you get where you start to run into issues, right? Online multiplayer games are super complex with tons of computed values that are going through the processor like simultaneously. Anti-cheat software is a little more sophisticated than that, but honestly, that's the kind of thing that anti-cheat software looks for. And when open source libraries in Wine don't output the exact same output that you would be getting from Windows libraries, well, that's when you're going to run into issues. The question is, what can actually be done about this? The way I see it, there are three options. Don't play games with anti-cheat enabled. There are some games like Halo the Master Chief Collection that allows you to turn off anti-cheat before you even launch the game. Games like that really do us a solid. Originally, Master Chief Collection allowed you to start the game without anti-cheat enabled because they want you to be able to use mods. But it also helps us. You can also play multiplayer games with a native Linux client, and they can't ban you because the native Linux client is officially supported. And finally, if you're a Linux user, just stop playing these horrible games. I mean, seriously, if you're playing these games and you're running it through Wine, there is always a chance that you could be banned. And if you're banned by an evil corporation like EA, you have literally no recourse. You can pay $60 and just be banned outright, and you have nothing that you can do about it. So don't give them your money if you're a Linux user. They don't deserve it. And besides, I mean, come on. Multiplayer games just aren't fun. Alright, I think that's going to do it for this video. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that EA should not be allowed to ban people for playing in Wine? Do you think that Wine should be an officially supported option in multiplayer games? Or do you think multiplayer games just shouldn't be played because they're dumb and not fun? Let me know in the comments, and
So hey, did you guys know we got a shout out from PewDiePie?
We also have Wavy Web Surf, sub-tier PewDiePie, check him out, very good.
I think being called sub-tier PewDiePie is the best compliment I could ever receive. Shout out to Felix for that, and make sure you go sub to Pewds because T-Series is coming up fast. But oddly enough, I had been working on the script for this PewDiePie video for about a week now, and then PewDiePie all of a sudden shouted me out. It's like we had some sort of telepathic communication. I don't know. But yes, indeed, you did read the title of this video correctly. There was a time where PewDiePie had to disable his entire comment section for a span of time that lasted around 2.5 months. And this happened back in 2014, which wasn't a time that I was an active PewDiePie watcher, but somebody brought this to my attention and it seemed like the strangest thing possible. See, the version of PewDiePie that we've come to know and love seems like the complete antithesis of somebody who would disable their comment section. Comment section disablers are seen as arrogant, unable to take criticism, out of touch, basically really overly sensitive people who can't deal with anyone talking negatively about them. And there are numerous examples of YouTubers who have disabled comments which fit this criteria in a way. Take for example Nicole Arbor, Daddy of Five, or the Fine Brothers. But over the years, PewDiePie has established himself as a staunch defender of free speech online. You had him fighting against the Wall Street Journal during their campaign to censor him regarding his Jewish jokes that were taken out of context. And also, over the years, PewDiePie has been credited for having his finger on the pulse as far as what his audience wants. He shapes his content around what his viewers are interested in, and it seems as though he values his community. Take, for example, his Reddit page and also the whole bro army thing that he had earlier in his career. He obviously values his community, their involvement, thus the comment section, so it seems really odd, almost bizarre, to think that there was a time that PewDiePie disabled his comment section, when in fact back in 2014 that was the case. There was a period of time that lasted about from August 29th, 2014, starting with the video titled Goodbye Comments Forever, up until October 13th of 2014. Comments were disabled on every upload within that time frame. And the big question is, why? Why did PewDiePie disable the comments? Was it because the commenters were just hitting him with so much hatred that he couldn't contain it? Well, it's actually something completely different, and it's more so tied into a really big problem that was going on in late 2013 and early 2014 that a vast array of YouTubers were upset with. And this was the integration of Google Plus into YouTube. Let's get into it. In 2013, YouTube made a fundamental change to the website that nearly everyone loathed. That was the integration of Google Plus into the YouTube comment section, becoming what was known at the time as New Comment Section. And one of the most universally hated features of the Google Plus integration was you had to sign up for a Google Plus account to even use the comments section. Something that had been previously freely available for everyone to use on their old YouTube accounts that some people had had all the way back as far as 2005. You could no longer make comments on that unless you had signed up for a Google Plus account, so people were universally peeved about that. Easily one of the worst parts of Google Plus integration in the comments. And if you were around on the platform during this time of late 2013, there's no doubt that you saw some of these content creators on YouTube making rant videos about Google Plus integration because there were plenty of people who were upset about it.
What the fuck, YouTube? How is this better?
Some YouTubers disabled their entire comment sections completely, including Total Biscuit, Seth Bling, Minute Earth, and Yogscast, while numerous others would go on to make videos critiquing it or putting out tweets related to the Google Plus integration.
Hey, what's up everybody? Today we're going to be talking about the most loved comment system on the internet, which is Google Plus. Actually, I lied. Everybody fucking hates Google Plus. What a fucking surprise.
However, PewDiePie, who I'm using more so as a case study in this video, he wouldn't hop on the bandwagon in late 2013, early 2014 like everyone else. He decided to more so wait and see how everything played out, but ultimately he would decide to disable his comment sections later that year in August, like I said previously. And his reasoning for disabling the comment section wasn't necessarily as a direct protest against Google Plus, but more so it was because of the problems that Google Plus integration had created in his own comment section. And some of these problems that manifested, I remember them vividly being in numerous comment sections around the website. And these problems are delineated within PewDiePie's Goodbye Comments Forever video as issues that he stated.
And I think the main problem here is the comments. I know I complain about the comments a lot, but it's basically my main way to communicate with you bros. I go to the comments and it's mainly spam, it's people self-advertising, it's people who's trying to provoke, people who reply to all these, just all this stuff that to me it doesn't mean anything. It's been bothering me for so long now. I've been trying to find solutions to it. I've been hoping that it would get better. I was hoping YouTube would try to figure a way out, but it doesn't seem like it, and I'm just sick of it. So I'm gonna turn the comments off forever. They're not coming back.
Let's take a quick look at this statement from YouTube that's in regard to the comment priority algorithm with the Google Plus integration and how it promotes comments. These are the types of comments that YouTube would promote. Post at the top of the list from the video's creator, popular personalities, engaged discussions about the video, and people in your Google Plus circles. So all of this on paper looks pretty good. You know, relevant comments from big YouTubers or the creator themselves would get promoted. But the problem lies in this one little clause here, engaged discussions about the video. So yes, on paper that looks pretty good. You want people who are actually debating the subject matter of the video to be promoted in the comment section. But what this actually translated to into practice was comments with the most amount of engagements in general being promoted. Therefore, these types of comments could be exploited by comment bots. So what you actually ended up happening was people would make these YouTube accounts and advertise their channels, or they would advertise some sort of website and use bots to promote the post via means of like botting or comment botting. So the top comments were always these spam advertisements, not actual discussions about the video. Another major issue that PewDiePie delineates was a serious problem in his comment section was the existence of these doppelganger scam accounts. These guys would deceptively name their accounts to resemble the content creator or another big YouTuber on the platform, oftentimes just substituting one of the letters with a different symbol, and they would advertise scam websites and phishing links that people would click on. So abusing the engagement clause and doppelganger accounts were the two primary reasons why PewDiePie disabled his comment section. He felt like his comment section had become a bit of a liability for his viewers. But there is a third reason that PewDiePie does state is sort of a reason why he disabled them, and I'll play a clip here.
It's people who's trying to provoke, people who reply to all these, just all this stuff that to me it doesn't mean anything. Like, I don't care about it, I don't want to see it, I just don't care. I want to see what you bros say or what's going on with you bros, but I don't see that because it gets blocked out by all these things.
So PewDiePie sort of expresses the fact that he feels like he doesn't actually see that many, supportive comments from the bro army or his, supportive core fans. And I know on the surface this looks like, oh, PewDiePie just couldn't take criticism, he can't deal with the trolls. And look, disabling the comment sections, I wouldn't agree with if it was only these hateful troll comments. But when it's bundled together with these doppelganger accounts and this abusing engagement to get your shit promoted on the top of my comment section when you're literally just breaking the rules of the website, I can understand why you might disable your comments. I see it as a bit more justified. And perhaps at the time, maybe PewDiePie wasn't as rock solidly skinned as he is now. Perhaps he didn't take these troll comments as in stride as he does now. But over the years, you can clearly see the dude's got so much experience online, he almost handles his trolls and flips them into memes masterfully at this point. But as I said, when it's compiled together with all the other issues, hell, you might as well disable the comments. He would go on to encourage his fans to reach him through Twitter, and for a while that worked out. But the span of time that the comments were disabled only lasted about 2.5 months, and he did restore them in October. And ultimately, the reason why he restored them, well, that was because the fans outcried. They wanted the comment section back. But in addition to this, YouTube did start to make some improvements in the comment section as a whole as time went on. The Google Plus algorithm was improved. It no longer promoted the engagement abusers, and spoof accounts pretty much became obsolete after the rules of sharing links in the comment sections became far more strict. New and improved spam filters were also released, which disabled the ability for people to sort of just put out these one-letter, two-letter comments, which oftentimes if you had a big video, you would just get walls of pages just putting little spammed letters, which would be pretty obnoxious if you were a channel of PewDiePie's size. But this has been a more miscellaneous video on the channel because someone told me PewDiePie disabled comments at one point, and I was like, oh shit, this sounds spicy, I wonder what happened. But it was really just related to a bad YouTube update. And it's interesting to look back at this because it seems so crazy hearing PewDiePie had done that, because it just seems like something he would never do, but within the context it sort of makes sense. But I want to give a big shout out to PewDiePie. I appreciate the shout out, man. Like, that's a super cousin move. Appreciated it. Sub-tier PewDiePie, I'll embrace that for sure. But make sure you go subscribe to PewDiePie so he can beat T-Series. Make sure you guys The internet. It is a hostile environment laden with trolls, scammers, SJWs, and downright overall shitty people who thrive off the sacred anonymity of the web. Amidst its chaos, not much remains constant. Websites rise, websites fall. Communities grow, only to turn against one another over time. However, despite all odds, one element remains strong and has held steadfast against all adversity presented. Memes. It is practically impossible to use the internet and not come across them, and it has been this way for many years now. They are enjoyed by people from all walks of life, from normies all the way to the seasoned 4chan shitposter. Today we will take an in-depth look at memes from their genesis all the way up to the present day. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the evolution of memes. The pre-Membrian era, years 2000 through 2010. In order to explore the contents of the pre-Membrian era, we have to travel back to the dial-up days of the internet. Before Reddit, before 4chan, before Facebook, and even before YouTube. In fact, before memes were even called
memes.
These pre-memes, as I call them, were shared by ancient means of communication, such as email, message boards, instant messaging services, and flash animation video hosting websites such as Funny Junk, Albino Black Sheep, and Newgrounds. The pre-memes crawled forth out of the primordial soup of the internet and began their decade-long legacy. Like modern-day memes, pre-memes consisted of humorous images, GIFs, or videos intended to be used as jokes or entertainment. For many, the Peanut Butter Jelly Time song comes to mind, and perhaps the hamster dance. And let us not forget about this excellent translation error, which resulted in one of the first popular gaming-related pre-memes.
We get signal. What? Main screen turn on. It's you. How are you, gentlemen? All your base are belong to us.
Another interesting specimen from this era are demotivational posters. These would portray precarious scenarios superimposed over motivational posters one might find hanging at the office. The demotivational poster would eventually evolve into the widely popular top text, bottom text image macro style of meme, which emerged later in the decade. Flash animation shorts were common pre-memes, and in my opinion, some of the best to come out of the era. Albino Black Sheep, Funny Junk, Newgrounds, and more served as hotbeds for people to submit video content and allowed users to react and share freely in a time before YouTube. These videos are legendary and still elicit a laugh in today's internet world. However, as time progressed and YouTube stepped onto the scene in 2005, the appeal of Flash animation began to slowly decline. It's now the mid-2000s. 4chan and Reddit begin to bubble up, but their impact on meme development is nowhere near what it is today. However, 4chan made some critical contributions even in its early days, including Lolcats, Pepe the Frog, and the infamous Rickroll. The true star of the mid to late 2000s is YouTube. YouTube was groundbreaking. Now if you had a shit digital camera and a computer with high-speed internet, you had all the equipment needed to make a viral video and become a living pre-meme in the flesh. The late 2000s are essentially the origin of the quintessential viral video. Like it's either going to be a morbidly obese man shaking his belly on camera or some kid doped up on Novocaine coming home from the dentist. Yeah, everybody knows the videos I'm talking about. The popularity of YouTube would persist on into the next era. However, many of the species which inhabited the pre-Membrian era would die off from natural selection as well. A lot of them were just complete shit. This work was not in vain, however. Because of their efforts, the narrative of the internet was shifted from a place of formal email communications, research, and business transactions to a place of fun, entertainment, and most importantly, shitposting. With death comes new life, and with the turn of the decade, memes began to flourish and their permanence is truly established. The Membrian era, years 2011 through 2014. The Membrian era marks the appearance of what we now know today as the modern meme. In fact, it wasn't until 2011 that we started calling memes, well, memes. This is the age of the image macro, an evolutionary relative of the demotivational poster. These would become arguably the most successful species of meme to ever roam the internet, and they are still widely popular even today. Let's take a look at some of the few image macro subspecies. Advice animals. Each advice animal picture provides a different context for the text, which will deliver the joke and/or advice. For example, you got actual advice mallard, which provides useful advice and/or life hacks. Malicious advice mallard, which provides shit advice in an attempt to fuck you over. And then you got confession bear, which basically allows you to confess cringy shit you did in real life online anonymously. Image macros take many forms, not just the advice animal format. They often will take characters from movies or popular culture and allow superimposed text to make a joke, which is enhanced by the dramatic face or action the person in the photo is performing. So many of of you may be asking, what is it about image macros that made them so widely popular? Well, I think there was two major factors that contributed to this, and let's go into them. The first one, the ease of creation. There were and still are tons of websites on the internet which provide image macro meme generators, which will do most of the work for you. You just pick an image and come up with your text and it's a meme. It brought meme creation to the average internet user. Secondly, Facebook. Okay, hear me out on this one. Facebook was the most popular social media website during the time of the Membrian era, and let's be honest, this is where most people on the internet were initially exposed to memes. Facebook allowed normies to have access to memes for the first time, and they were shared at a rate that was unmatched at this point in meme history. So with that said, the vast increase of meme sharing is what ultimately defines the Membrian era. Memes crawled out from the shadowy message boards and internet nerd circles and now became a mainstream hit that even your mom could enjoy. This is why image macros were crucial for memes, simply because they were so easy to swallow. It was like a gateway drug into more dank memes. And some may argue that this accessibility to the normie crowd was a detriment to memes, but I disagree. As the rate of meme creation and sharing increased, the speed at which memes became stale and died to competition increased. This created a meme ecosystem which was and still is constantly throwing out memes which become stale or unfunny, and then simultaneously encourages the creation of new, spicier memes. So it's basically natural selection. As we wrap up the Membrian era, what is important to take away from this era is that memes were now a part of the mainstream. You could now approach someone IRL and be like, hey, did you see that meme I posted last night? It was funny, right? And your buddy would be like, yeah, dude, super funny. The word meme was permanently instilled into the lexicon of internet users worldwide. As the Membrian era came to a close, the era of dank memes was upon us. The dank Membrian era, 2015 to infinity? This is it, the golden age, the dank Membrian. The era in which we're living in is undoubtedly the pinnacle of memes. What marks this era is the full synchronization of memes and social media, particularly Facebook and Twitter. Memes are shared at a rate which dwarfs the rate they were shared in the Membrian era. Memes in this era are obscure, cryptic, and just downright dank. One of the main traits of the dank Membrian era is the appearance of super memes, essentially a singular meme which will dominate Facebook groups and Twitter feeds for weeks, even months at a time. Harambe, SpongeGar, Mr. Krabs, Arthur, Datboy, the list goes on. These memes would circulate in their pure form for a while and then experience a remixing period where the meme would be tweaked in a small way to add spice to it until it ultimately becomes stale and dies out from overuse. Datboy is a unique product of meme evolution and is truly a sign of the times. It had no evolutionary predecessors. It essentially materialized from the ether. This is unusual because most memes share some kind of connection with something in pop culture or just an in-joke. But this meme literally had no ties to anything. It was just created and shared for the sake of being a meme. Truly a work of art. Let's move on to YouTube. YouTube is still a major contributor to meme culture. However, the focus has shifted from viral videos to exposed videos. Now there are massive YouTube channels which by means of parody actively roast and create memes out of other people for comedy's sake, and it's beautiful. Take for example H3H3 exposing pranksters and various internet scumbags, or the whole Keemstar debacle that went down over the summer. I could make an entire video detailing the many cases of YouTuber exposed memes, but honestly I'm not trying to get involved in any YouTube drama shenanigans, you feel me? There are also YouTube channels which sole purpose is to review memes and meme culture. What a stupid idea for a YouTube channel, don't you think? Next I want to talk about a source of memes which I feel is completely underappreciated. When you hear about memes, you're thinking, oh, it came from 4chan, it came from Reddit, it came from YouTube. Well, let's not forget about the Black Twitter community, where some of my personal favorite memes have spawned. Black Twitter has become one of the major powerhouses of meme development in recent years, masterfully poking fun at celebrities, musicians, and putting crude spins on old children's cartoons, resulting in some seriously dank memes. I want to take a step back for a second and have you consider the following. Have memes become so influential that they can affect real life? Well, memes have become so powerful, internet users essentially memed a man to the presidency of the United States of America. So with this in mind, I can't help but ask, have we gone too far? Some may say yes, memes are cancer. And while I understand the reasoning for this statement, I strongly disagree. Memes are what hold the fabric of the internet together. Memes are essentially the culture of the internet. Every website or social media platform has communities specific to them which are unique from one another. But memes serve as a universal language for all of these communities to come together. United by this language of memes, the internet users as a whole define what is funny and what is unfunny online and even in real life. Through memes, we celebrate the best aspects of our culture and parody the undesirable aspects. Memes are that inside joke that you have with your closest friends, but on an infinitely larger scale. So with all that said, I think the role that memes play is completely justified, and honestly, I can't imagine the internet without them. So I'll leave you with this. Nobody knows how long the dank Membrian era will last. All good things must come to an end. However, our legacy has been written. This era of memes, our era of memes, will forever echo through the vastness of the internet as one of the greatest to do it. Today I want to talk about one of the most widely recognized and beloved freakout videos ever to be uploaded onto YouTube. It's called The Greatest Freakout Ever. But you probably know it as the video where the kid shoves the TV remote up his butt for a second. Stephen Quire, often referred to as the World of Warcraft Freakout Kid or Waffle Pwn, had his freakout video uploaded onto the Waffle Pwn YouTube channel back in May 3rd of 2009. And I know some of you are like, Wavy, why are you pronouncing Waffle Pwn as Waffle Pwn? Isn't it Waffle Own? Throughout the years, I don't think we ever really reached an agreement on how to pronounce Pwn or Own, so I'm just gonna say Pwn. It's Waffle Pwn. Got it? Anyways, the Greatest Freakout Ever video has become a beloved piece of freakout media that has stood the test of time, with it reaching just over 97 million views as of today. And this wasn't the only freakout video uploaded onto the Waffle Pwn YouTube channel. Look, with any channel that's able to mass produce these freakout caught on camera style videos, naturally the authenticity of the videos gets called into question, and the Waffle Pwn YouTube channel has definitely caught a lot of heat throughout the years of people sort of speculating that the videos may have been staged. Well, today I want to take a look at the history of the channel, its origins, and present some evidence that may suggest that the videos were indeed staged. Before we get started, I want to let you guys know this video is sponsored by Dollar Shave Club. I bet a lot of you, well, hey man, I'm right there. Other fantastic the products for the more you shave shower sets. The shave starter set comes with their weight versions of the pepper shave stockbob.com. So before we just web surf, the links in the description box. Now let's get on to the video. So before we discuss the authenticity of the videos on the Waffle Pwn YouTube channel, let's just take a look back at the events that led up to the first Waffle Pwn freakout video and talk a bit about the legacy of the channel in general. The Waffle Pwn YouTube channel was created on August 14th of 2008, and the Greatest Freakout Ever video from May 3rd of 2009 is currently listed as its first upload. It's unknown if there was any content that was uploaded and removed in the time frame between its creation and that May 3rd Greatest Freakout video, but for all intents and purposes, the Greatest Freakout Ever video would be their first video. The video begins with at the time 14-year-old Jack Quire explaining that his older brother 15-year-old Stephen Quire was raging because his mom had canceled his World of Warcraft subscription, preventing him from logging into the game.
Okay, my mom just canceled my brother's World of Warcraft account, and he is freaking out.
Jack then quickly runs into his brother's room and hides the camera in an attempt to film Steven's tantrum. Jack successfully plants the camera without Steven noticing and manages to capture his older brother's freak out on camera. And what he captured on camera that day would basically create a legendary YouTube channel. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you some of the highlights from that freak out right here. So finally, after 2 minutes of Steven screeching his lungs out, flailing around, and giving himself a self-induced prostate exam, he finally calms down and leaves the room. After he leaves, Jack runs into the room to grab the camera while laughing, probably realizing that he had just captured viral video gold. And based off what we're presented in the video, Jack is the one setting up the camera. It's heavily implied, at least from the context of the video, that Jack is the one that owns the Waffle Pwn YouTube channel. So supposedly Jack uploads the video of his brother to YouTube, and the video ends up going viral, getting 1 million views in a rather short period of time. But Jack wasn't finished exploiting his brother's tantrums for YouTube views. 1 month later, he follows it up with a new video, this one titled The Greatest Freakout Ever 2, which follows a very similar format, with Jack secretly filming his brother's temper tantrum and uploading it behind Steven's back to YouTube.
Stop freaking betraying me! I'm on your team! Freaking stop!
And then after Greatest Freakout Ever 2, we get probably Waffle Pwn's second most famous video, Greatest Freakout Ever 3. And this is the video where Jack films Steven beating up this truck that he was gifted for his 16th birthday with a baseball bat.
Get away! Stop it! Fucking man, this is totally ridiculous. You guys like making me look like a freaking poor kid in front of all my friends. Oh my god.
Yeah, pretty ridiculous stuff. Sure, I can see those being authentic freakouts. 3 isn't a ridiculous number, but when you take into consideration the amount of Greatest Freakout Ever videos that would be created for this channel, it starts getting a little suspicious. So how many Greatest Freakout videos are there? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? There's 36 of these Greatest Freakout Ever videos, with the most recent one just being posted 2 weeks ago. Look, as with any other long-standing freakout video series where the content creators are able to put out a massive amount of these freakout videos, like McJuggernuggets did, like Angry Grandpa did, like the Tourette's guy did, you gotta take a step back and ask yourself, is this shit real, or am I getting worked? And when I was watching the original Greatest Freakout Ever video as a freshman in high school, I certainly thought that the videos were real. Hell, I remember actually thinking Steven was this spoiled brat for beating up the truck that he got for his birthday. But as a grown-ass adult, I find myself looking back at these videos and I just can't help but think that there's something fishy about it. So I did a bit of research into the Greatest Freakout Ever series, and I found 2 pieces of evidence that pretty much prove, without a shadow of a doubt, that the entire Greatest Freakout Ever video series is 100% staged. And before I present this evidence to you guys, I'm not trying to trying to bash the Choir brothers or like destroy their legacy or tarnish the greatest freak out ever video series. It's one of the most hilarious freak out video series ever to be uploaded onto YouTube, and it's an important part of internet and YouTube history, and you can never take that away from them. I just want to let you guys know that these videos are staged. Anyways, let's get into the first piece of evidence. The first red flag that leads me to believe that these videos are staged goes back to this rehearsal take, which was leaked online from the Greatest Freak Out Ever 3 video. On October 30th of 2010, YouTuber Chaotic Kid uploaded a video titled "The Greatest Freak Out Ever 3 is Fake, Actual Proof of Them Practicing, Watch This." And I'll roll the clip right here.
Okay, it's Steven's 16th birthday party, and he has a present. He doesn't know what it is yet. Are you excited, Steven?
Yeah.
What do you think it could be?
I don't know. We're outside, so a car? Yes! Yes! Seriously?
Well, this is your first car. It's not like we're going to get you something that we're going to worry about getting beat up or
Yeah, but everyone in school is going to think I'm a fag.
Yeah, but it's much safer.
At first glance, this video seems to be a blatant re-upload of The Greatest Freak Out 3, but those familiar with the original video will immediately notice differences in the dialogue. Here's a side-by-side comparison of the two videos.
It's Steven's 16th birthday party, and it's a surprise. He has a present. You ready, Steven? He doesn't know what it is yet. Are you excited, Steven?
Yeah. I really don't know.
What do you think it could be?
And the smoking gun that proves that this was indeed a separate or rehearsal take is that Steven is wearing a different colored t-shirt in this video clip. So from watching this video clip, we can infer that The Greatest Freak Out Ever 3 was recorded multiple times, therefore is not an authentic reaction from Steven. And if they fake this one, they most likely fake the rest of the videos. The second and most convincing piece of evidence, in my opinion, comes from a radio interview with the Choir brothers' mother. Sometime in July of 2009, Kid Chris from the Kid Chris radio show came across Waffle Pone's YouTube channel and reached out via email to see if one of the brothers would be okay for a phone interview. During this email conversation, Waffle Pone gave Kid Chris the household's phone number. And on July 10th, Kid Chris calls the phone number and asks to speak to Waffle. And this is what happens.
Hi, is Waffle Pone there?
This is his mom.
Hi, this is Kid Chris. We're radio guys. We emailed them about coming on the show to talk about those videos.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Hey, can I ask, is this the mom that's in the video?
Yes.
Oh, but you're cute, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, have you seen the videos?
Have I seen them?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Those are real, right?
No.
They're not?
I don't. You know what? He's been kind of back and forth on whether he wants people to know or not. So how big of a viewing do you have?
Well, we're just an internet radio show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that'd probably be okay then. You know, but.
Oh, I see. So he wants to kind of keep the joke running.
Yeah, to the people that are on the internet watching it.
Okay. So you're now. So what happened? Did they go and they like the thing when you got the truck and all that stuff? You guys were all in on that?
Yeah.
Oh, and
well, actually, all of now the first one, him and his brother kind of, which they had been talking about it when school got out, that they wanted to come up with a really good YouTube video that would be huge.
Yeah.
And, we kind of heard him talking about it a little bit. And then one day we were downstairs and we kept hearing something upstairs. And, I went to the bottom of the stairs and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And Jack was like, shh, we're filming.
Who's the older son?
The freak out kid?
Yeah.
That's Steven.
Okay, so he's not really, it's all a bit.
He's actually the brains behind all of it. He's the one that tells everybody what to do, what to say,
Now, so did you that truck when he beat up the truck? So that wasn't really a gift. That was just all part of the bit.
Right.
Wow, that kid's
that's Grandpa's old junker truck.
Boy, let me tell you that your kid's a genius because I fell for it.
It looked real.
So to me, this interview with the choir brother's mom completely shatters any hope that these videos weren't staged. The mother speaks about the videos and the brothers with a level of nuance that would be difficult to fake. For example, that moment when she explains that the old truck was Steven's grandfather's junker truck. That would be tough to just come up with on the spot. She was telling the truth here. And of course there's going to be skeptics that'll say the radio interview is fake and that really wasn't the choir brother's mom on the phone. And I understand that to a degree, because at the end of the day, I guess we're just taking the word of Kid Chris and the woman on the phone that this is indeed the choir brother's mom. But there really is more to it here, because you can actually take clips from the radio interview and compare it with clips of Steven's mom in the actual Greatest Freak Out Ever videos, and it pretty much matches up. I'll play some comparison clips and let you be the judge, but to me this sounds about right. This is the same person.
You know what? He's been kind of back and forth on whether he wants people to know or not.
This will be something that you can beat up and you don't have to worry about scratches or anything, and then you can get a job.
You know what? He's been kind of back and forth on whether he wants people to know or not.
And it's not that
Really,
deep.
really warm. It only goes about your chest. Get a suntan.
You know what? He's been kind of back and forth on whether he wants people to know or not.
Man, it's like that big. Look at him.
really?
Just look at him.
Yeah, just look at
Look at the coral. Just sit down.
You know what? He's been kind of back and forth on whether he wants people to know or not.
So in conclusion, in this video, I've proved that they take multiple recordings of Greatest Freak Out Ever videos, and I've also shown you that the mom basically outright says that her sons had planned on staging these freak out style videos from the start. I don't see how we could come to any other conclusion that the Greatest Freak Out Ever was staged. So what do you guys think about this? Does it take anything away from the Greatest Freak You guys remember advice animal memes? It seems like it was just yesterday when these things were all the rage and being shared across websites like Reddit and Tumblr. I guess you could say the peak of advice animal memes was around 2011 or 2012, but during this time, they were pretty much inescapable on these websites. While most advice animal memes are completely dead today and the format has kind of expired and been thrown off to the wayside, many of these advice animals have some pretty interesting backstories behind them. Today I want to tell you guys the story of one of the more infamous advice animal memes, Scumbag Steve. Scumbag Steve was certainly one of the most popular in the advice animal bunch, and I would imagine many of you watching are familiar with this image I'm showing you right here. But what you likely don't know is the hilarious origin of this photo and the guy's reaction to becoming a living meme, basically. And that's what I'm going to be breaking down for you guys today. This is the story of Scumbag Steve. So for whatever reason, if you're not familiar with Scumbag Steve or advice animals, I reckon I'll delve into a behind the memes segment for a moment and explain the joke to you. Scumbag Steve is an advice animal image macro meme which popped up on Reddit in early 2011. And if you're unfamiliar with the concept of advice animals, basically it's an entire genre of image macro memes with each different advice animal picture having a different theme that will determine what the joke is about. Bad Luck Brian, it's gonna be a joke about someone having bad luck. Success Kid, a joke about a small triumph. Confession Bear, cringy confession joke, you get the gist. So naturally with Scumbag Steve here, you get people making jokes or anecdotal recounts of scumbag-like behaviors or individuals they had encountered in the real world, and personified them within this young man wearing a sideways flat bill hat and a faux fur jacket. I mean, you gotta admit, the guy looks like he might steal some money out of his mom's purse or something, right? But here's a few examples of the Scumbag Steve meme in action. Hey Steve, no smoking in the house. Nah, it's cool, dog. Hey man, you on Facebook? Friend request your sister. Go to high school parties, 25 years old. Ask to borrow car. No bottom text. And yeah, it's nothing crazy as far as 2019 meme standards go, but oh boy, in 2011 was this thing a gut buster. So with the concept explained, where exactly did this image of Scumbag Steve come from in the first place? And who was this guy? What was his backstory? Well, it turns out that the picture comes from an old MySpace page associated with a rap group called Beantown Mafia. According to the MySpace page, Beantown Mafia was a group based out of Massachusetts. The rap group consisted of two members, those members being L Boog and BZB. The page has photos from the rap group dating as far back as 2006, and this collection of photography is definitely a sight to behold. Everything looks like it's deep fried. There's like 20 filters on each picture. It's definitely a master class in photography. But anyways, on this MySpace page, we can find the photo that would become the infamous Scumbag Steve meme, and it was a photo of BZB taken sometime in 2006. And believe it or not, this was the image that Beantown Mafia chose to use for a mixtape they made called My Gangsta. Yeah, some killer album art there. Here's a musical snippet from this album.
I don't even claim to be the hardest, but I'm the motherfucker who will go the farthest.
So anyways, in early 2011, some anonymous user from 4chan had found the BZB photo on the Beantown Mafia MySpace page and shared it to 4chan. It was then promptly nabbed by a Redditor who created some image macro variants of this picture. This Redditor named Bronxcrack created some image macros using the BZB photo and shared it to the rfunny subreddit in a thread titled I Hated This Dude, which was posted on January 20th of 2011. This Bronxcrack thread would be the first instance of this meme blowing up on Reddit, with it getting just over 1,000 upvotes. Within the replies to the thread, Redditor Happy 2 Bake would come up with a name for a meme, calling it Scumbag Steve. And from this point forward, the meme would essentially be inducted into the Advice Animal pantheon. In addition to this thread essentially popularizing the Scumbag Steve meme, the thread also contained information which was a lead to the real identity of Scumbag Steve /BZB. Redditor Cool Beans stated that he recognized the person in the newly dubbed Scumbag Steve image and said that they went to high school together. He claimed that BZB /Scumbag Steve's real name was Blake Boston. Now, at the time, there was no way to prove what this Redditor said was true, and the identity of Scumbag Steve /BZB would remain anonymous. But it wouldn't be long until the man behind Scumbag Steve caught wind of the spread of the meme which represented his likeness online, and people were making constant jokes about him. He would take to the internet and share his 2 cents about all of this. The first public statements from Scumbag Steve came from a text form interview set up by meme encyclopedia website Know Your Meme, just weeks after the Scumbag Steve meme blew up on Reddit. And it turns out that the Redditor who claimed that he knew Scumbag Steve's real name wasn't lying. Scumbag Steve would claim in this interview that he was a 21-year-old man from Boston, Massachusetts, and his name was indeed Blake Boston. So was the guy behind Scumbag Steve really this giant scumbag? Well, I'll read off some segments from this interview. What is your real name, age, and what are you up to these days? My real name is Blake Boston. I'm 21. I go to school full-time at night and work full-time during days at a job where I make for money. I'm trying to get on my grind because I have a baby boy on the way. Really, all I do is work in school and try to split time between family, my girl, and my brothers. And I'm a clean motherfucker because I shower every day. Where did the image come from? Who took it? Are you still in touch with the photographer? Oh, the specific picture that's really the original meme was taken when I was 16 looking into at my mom because she was torturing me for photos. Was I wrecked at the time? I don't remember, but I sure as thought I was a baller. Man, that coat was given to me in a swap meet for some shit. And yeah, I'm still in touch with the photographer. Ha ha ha. And she's cooling it on the pics now. When did you find out about the meme? Who the knew what a meme was? I had never even heard the word. Never even knew this site existed. Didn't know how to pronounce it. People started blowing up my phone telling me I was all over the net. At first it went deep. Then I couldn't help but laugh at some of the They are funny as Sometimes I forget the pics were of me and we're all laughing our asses off and I'm like, shut the up. Nah, just playing. Blake Boston, you sure do have a way with words, my friend. Now, as we dive deeper into this interview, it becomes clear that Blake Boston had been facing some of the more negative side effects of being a living meme. Those side effects being online bullying and harassment. See, when it comes to being a living meme, I found that there's sort of this dichotomy that exists. It's either you're a living meme where people are laughing with you, or you're a living meme where people are laughing at you. And in Blake Boston's case, he happened to be one of the we're laughing at you cases. On the downside of internet fame, I hear you've been getting harassed by anonymous pranksters left and right. How's that going? I imagine you're in a glass case of emotions right now. Sucks, man. I guess people can't separate the meme from the real me in some cases. Like, people got my name, my phone, my Facebook, started calling me all kind of racist, calling my girl and my family all hours of the night. Some put up an ultrasound picture of my unborn kid and wished it would die. How is that? My girl cried all night. She felt molested by that. A lot of racist being said, a lot of haters. But truth is, man, even with D-bags like that, I have it good, really, because I've got my family and my friends who know me, and no one can break that. I remember being on Reddit during the time of the Scumbag Steve meme spread, and while I remember most of the conversation being strictly based on jokes and people sort of using their creativity to come up with funny Scumbag Steve memes, I do remember a very small niche group of people who had this directed hate boner towards Blake Boston, the guy in the photo. They were assuming that he was some sort of actual scumbag and couldn't separate the meme from the guy. Now, this is somewhat of an inevitability when it comes to living memes. There will always be some internet lowlifes out there that will say some gnarly things and harass living memes to try to make a lolcow out of them. And the worst thing you can do in this position is to feed the trolls, and in many cases, this is exactly what Blake Boston did. Yo, people need to watch their mouth with this Scumbag Steve. My name's not Steve, and if I find out who created this then fill in the rest. As the Scumbag Steve meme began to peak around February and March, all Blake Boston could really do was sit back and contemptuously watch as his likeness was used as the butt of countless internet jokes. But eventually he'd be given another opportunity to speak out to the internet at large. And this opportunity came when Rough Draft TV reached out to him in early March and offered to set up an in-person video form interview with Blake. Blake saw this as an opportunity to set the record straight and speak directly to his internet detractors. He hoped that this would let the world know that the man behind Scumbag Steve wasn't a scumbag. This interview was posted on March 6th of 2011 and was the first time that the internet got to see a video form interview with Scumbag Steve.
The original Scumbag Steve is supposed to be scumbag. Everybody knows this person. You know, the person who, when you go to a party, they want a beer. They want one of your beers, your cigarettes. They want to borrow your lighter, steal it permanently. I think the original person who made up Scumbag Steve was they're actually trying to ruin me. Because, you know, I'm an aspiring hip-hop artist. I'm trying to be something like, do hip-hop. I'm more of a showman, too. So they tried to be like, oh, well, he's not going to do anything because I don't like him. I probably f***ed his girlfriend, honestly. This harassment, it's kind of f***ed up. At the end of the day, it feeds the fuel to my fire. You're trying to kill a horse, then you're trying to beat it, all right? You're trying to do a raid for me to find who I am, where I am. You already know my name, so you want to tell me I'm a scumbag and a dickhead and this and that? Okay, fine. I'll flip it up on you. Me and this gentleman right here, Elbow, this is my best friend in the world. He's like my brother. Me and him created the rap group Beantown Mafia. What it is we're all trying to have a good time, but don't with us, because we're the Mafia. I think Reddit.com is hot and cold. They have some funny shit in there, but other shit is just played out, you know what I mean? Sometimes they just beat the dead horse. They take it and then they repost it and then they say, oh, it's mine, I did it. No, you didn't freaking do it, all right? If you did it, you did it. If not, just say, oh, I got this from 4chan.
Believe it or not, over 1.5 million people flocked to this Scumbag Steve interview. I would imagine people watch for various reasons, perhaps for some Scumbag Steve redemption arc, or perhaps validation in their preconceived notion that this guy was a POS. The video has approximately 6.5k likes and 2.4k dislikes, which is a ratio that indicates a mixed audience response. And if you go down in the comment section of this interview, it almost seems as though this Rough Draft TV Blake Boston / Scumbag Steve interview only dug the hole deeper for him. It's difficult to deny that Blake seemed pretty jaded from the whole meme experience and was quick to cast off those who made Scumbag Steve memes as just haters. And I don't think this was the appropriate demeanor to have for this interview. His detractors weren't impressed. He is actually what I imagined Scumbag Steve would be like. He definitely lives up to his name, Scumbag Steve. You can judge a book by its cover. He did the impossible. He made me like the character Scumbag Steve more than him. LOL, this guy is so delusional. He needs his own show. He speaks like a 3-year-old. I'm an aspiring hip-hop artist. I'm out. With the poor reception of the rough draft interview and Blake still in denial about his living meme status, he would fall rather silent when it came to the Scumbag Steve meme for some time and rarely brought it up on his social media accounts. As March came to an end, so did the massive popularity of the Scumbag Steve advice animal on Reddit. Within a matter of 2 months, the meme was practically dead, but this wouldn't be the last we heard from Blake Boston. Fast forward to 2012. After a little under a year of silence from Blake Boston on the topic of Scumbag Steve, he finally spoke about his living meme status once again in a text-based interview set up by Tech9's Strange Music blog. Blake Boston had revealed that during his hiatus from the internet that he had essentially come to terms with his status as a living meme and decided to finally embrace the Scumbag Steve character. How did you cope with the sudden fame? At first it was a little weird because I wasn't really used to everyone messaging me and emailing me and saying, dude, you're a scumbag. After a while, I was actually talking to a friend of mine and they were like, you know, just embrace it. This is good. Since I've always loved the entertainment business, I was like, yeah, you know, I'll embrace it and I'll go along with it. So they brought me to this Halloween party in New York just a couple months ago in October, and I realized the positive feedback that I've been getting. So now I love it. Following this interview with Strange Music, Blake Boston would take to his social media and announced that there would be an official Scumbag Steve rap project coming out. Look out for the Scumbag Steve album in the works now. So, a Scumbag Steve album never actually came to fruition, but what we did get was a series of Scumbag Steve music videos uploaded to YouTube called Scumbag Thursdays. On May 3rd of 2012, Scumbag Steve dropped his first Scumbag Steve song called Scumbag Steve Overture.
Who's been smoking up all your weed? Scumbag Steve, Scumbag Steve. And who keeps ripping out your girlfriend's weave? Scumbag Steve, Scumbag Steve. Who showed up and drank all your beer? Scumbag Steve, Scumbag Steve. And how'd you get puke on your brand new gear? Oh yeah, that's me.
Astonishingly, this music video pulled in close to 2 million views in less than 24 hours, which is insane when you consider that the Scumbag Steve image macro meme had died almost a year prior. The song was made available on iTunes, so I would imagine that Blake Boston made a little bit of money off of the meme as well. So I gotta admit, I actually like the Scumbag Steve track. Yes, it's juvenile, but I think it's a perfect song music video adaptation of what that meme and character is all about.
I'll call a girl from high school, I heard you throwing down. I heard the fridge is well stocked and the folks are out of town. Pass me a lighter, I swear I'll give it back. I need to light the cigarette before we buy a set.
The comments were much more receptive to the music video in comparison to his Rough Draft TV interview. An interview where he took a more standoffish and combative tone towards the meme. Becomes a meme, uses it for rap career. Scumbag Steve is a boss. Good guy Scumbag Steve gets ridiculed on the internet, takes it in stride. To me, Blake Boston making this music video and fully embracing the Scumbag Steve character in a way marks the end of his meme story arc. In the beginning, he hated the meme, fought back against it, and took the jokes personally. He would eventually find that speaking out against it only made things worse for him, and that the more pragmatic option was to accept the meme for what it was, and he found a way to use the power of his memehood as an advantage. And that's pretty much what he did, becoming a minor celebrity and making a bit of money in the process. He continued on with the Scumbag Thursday series on his YouTube channel. The concept was simple, a new Scumbag Steve music video every Thursday. The project was active for about 2 months and spawned a total of 8 music videos, but after the 8th video, the channel went defunct and was eventually deleted, marking what would be the official end of Blake Boston's Scumbag Thursday's YouTube venture. Since 2012, Blake Boston has appeared on several interview shows where he often reflects on his status as a living meme and the Scumbag Steve thing as a whole. So, you want to see what Blake Boston looks like in 2019? Well, here you go. This is Blake Boston now. The clip I'm showing you is from the Chuck Reeves YouTube channel. Yeah, he looks a little bit different, but this is to be expected because it's been almost like 8 years since the Scumbag Steve meme popped off. Can you believe that? But anyways, my friends, that is the story of Scumbag Steve and how Blake Boston accidentally stumbled into memehood, initially fought back against it, but learned to live with it and even prosper from his living meme status. Let me know what you guys thought about the video in the comments section, and let me know who you want me to talk about next. Major shoutouts to my patrons, I appreciate you guys. Wavy Web Surf out. Peace.